on.
Welcome into our next leg in a race around the world here at the Pitstop Pals, part of the Reality Realm podcast network. My name is Kevin Oliver.
And my name is Bruce Heller, and we have a very exciting episode. Probably the most excited I've been to record the show. We've had guests on. We haven't had guests on that have been on the show until today. We have Han and Holden joining us from the recently finished season 37, and we're super excited to have you guys.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much for having us. You're so
Yeah,
sweet.
thank
Oh
you
my
guys so
gosh.
much. We're so excited to be here.
And first off, thank you. You guys have both been interacting with our Instagram and our socials all season, so thank you for that. That's been fun. We always like seeing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just so grateful to be in the position that we are and also just like have the opportunity to have people like appreciate and love us. And like the least we can do is like,
Yeah.
reciprocate. So stoked to just be here.
So
100%.
the first question I wrote down was just kind of a simple one. Did either of you have a favorite country or place you got to visit during the race?
Yeah, I think in terms of aesthetics, I would say Bulgaria. Bulgaria was really cool. I didn't really expect much, but like it blew me away with what we got out of
Hmm.
it. And then in terms of like racing, I would say Kyoto, because I think that was like the beginning of us really, really putting together our run.
Mm,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like for me, I've just been solo traveling for a while, like for the past 2 years, and I did a lot prior to the race. And something that I learned was like, it's genuinely not about the place. It's really about the people that I'm with, and the experiences that I have. So like honestly, like when you, and this is coming from a very privileged position, but like when you've traveled a lot and like your environment is always changing, it's kind of like it kind of starts to feel the same after a while. So like just like when I think about just highlights of the race, I like the top three legs that come to mind are Kyoto, like Holden said, Dubai, because we really started to see our race plan fall together, and Portugal, because
Nice.
I think like we really surprised ourselves like actually making it to the top three. So I think like in terms of like leg highlights, those are mine.
Sure. Yeah.
And so sticking on highlights, we talked about like locations. Did either of you have favorite or least favorite challenges or tasks you did throughout?
That hay was relentless.
Yes,
I
like absolutely.
I think I've referenced that haystack challenge about 3 times since that episode. That's just wild to me.
Yeah, I think Mark put it best in the episode, and the reason why they chose wood was that whenever he sees hay, um, that means that like people have been there until it turns dark, and I think that there
Mm,
was a very good chance that we would be there until it turned dark.
yeah, that looks worse than the race challenge where you're like plowing a rice field looking for the envelope. It
Yeah, absolutely.
does not look fun.
And it was also just really hot that day. And like the wood did, like I think the wood probably took us like an hour if I were to guess, just like
Yeah.
3 trips, probably each round taking around 20 minutes. So we were exhausted, and the hay was pretty exhausting because like you're
Yeah.
constantly moving your arms up and like you have to be attention to detail. So it was just like a mixture of hard.
Nice.
Definitely. Um, Bruce, is it good if we kind of walk through some of the stuff that I
Yeah.
had now?
I was gonna throw it over to you next anyway.
Okay, right on. So I did some looking back at your season as a whole and your race as a whole and kind of wanted to walk through that with you guys. And so I have some questions from each of the legs that I'm curious upon. And it started in Hong Kong and you guys talked about how um, being raised or knowing Vietnamese was gonna help you in some of those situations. And I just wanted to know how did your upbringing and the cultural diversity that has been a part of being an Asian American people helped your race?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin. Thank you for asking. In terms of how it helped us race, I think that like I don't know if it gave us like an advantage or a disadvantage, but it did give us insight. Like I think that we had an idea of like Asian culture when we were traveling to Asia, which was really helpful. But I think what was more helpful was that our parents were really, really adamant about us meeting different types of people from different backgrounds and different cultures. And I think that is what really, really helped us throughout the race in terms of like dealing with culture shock of going from like Indonesia to Dubai. And but I do think that like the producers also did a great job of easing transitions in a sense, right? Because if you think about it, we went from Japan, an Asian country, into Indonesia, which is another Asian country, but like it's also a Muslim country, like a primarily Muslim country. And then we went to another Muslim country in the UAE, right? So like we were still in Asia, but we were no longer in like East Asia. We were now in like the Middle East. We were now in Western Asia. And so like everything kind of like they were like, yeah, I think the producers did a great job of really, really thinking that out as well. So I think in terms of our upbringing, I think we have to credit our parents, and then we also have to credit the producers for also helping us out in terms of managing it.
That's
And
really
something
cool.
Yeah, and something else I just want to highlight is like I don't think it's necessarily that being Asian gave us a specific advantage, but I think that like we grew up in a predominantly white area, so like we were the minorities and like in terms of like learning how to connect with people, like our method of learning how to connect with people, like we had to learn that very young. And so I think that like in terms of like just being a minority and like navigating a predominantly white town and like learning how to like talk with like all different types of people, like also with our travel experience, I think that was what was really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really cool perspective. I didn't really consider like the adaptability that you guys would come in with. That's awesome.
Same.
Yeah, and I think also that like if I were to reflect on just like our time on the race and like what our strengths were, because I think if you're watching the show, it could easily be perceived that like we're a team that just got lucky all the time, you know? Like we're always on the bottom, like somehow we squeezed our way to the top three, but I think like although it was definitely like a bit of luck, there's the aspect of like how adaptable we were in terms of like in moments of extremely high pressure, we were able to keep our heads on screwed straight and like get the job done, as well as like really just being dealt with whatever cards are given to us and not getting thrown off course mentally. So I think like in terms of like challenge ability, I would say like our challenge ability could have been better. Just and it could have been better if we like had experience working together and we just didn't, unfortunately. But like I think like our adaptability was really what carried our team.
Yeah, that's great. And you're talking about how people would view you. And you guys finished that leg as the 12th team out of 14, and to finish the season in second. How does that feel to go from such like fighting for your life to to being at the top?
I think
Holden,
it's
you're
one of
muted.
those. I think it's one of those things that like you learn from every single experience that you have, right? And I think that like that's what really, really served us in like the last five, the final five.
Mhm.
Um, is that like we weren't really concerned with what other teams were doing. We were really concerned about like our game. And I think our game had like really, really strengthened us and like given us like the calluses of like, all right, you're at the back. This is what pressure feels like, and like we got really used to that feeling. Um, I think that the only feeling that we didn't get used to was winning a leg. Um, and I think like that was like like something that we had to like we needed to have learned to like really, really close the deal and feel super confident in our abilities. But in terms
Sure.
of our abilities of making it to the final leg, like I think that personally I felt very, very confident in our ability because I felt like if you can get us into a one-on-one situation with these teams, like they're really good teams, but they also don't have the experience that we have. And our experience, I think, is what I would say more important because dominating is a great feeling. Um, but being on the bottom is not, and being used to not feeling good is honestly a really, really good tool.
So I'll jump in here if you don't mind, Kevin.
Go for it.
Because you guys talk about how you kind of just slid by or barely survived a few legs. One of those was the NEL leg, the non-elimination. What was that like, finding out that you had finished last but still got to keep racing?
I mean, we were stoked. I think just going into it, we had a feeling that it could be non-elim, but I think also like considering where we started, Holden and I talked about it after, like if we had gotten eliminated that leg, yeah, it would have sucked. Yeah, it would have hurt. Yeah, we would have thought about like the would have, could have, should have. But I think we would have been still very content with our performance, as well as like understanding that like that was the placement that made sense for us, just like given the conditions. But when it was a non-elim, like we were super stoked. I think we just ran the race super grateful with like whatever opportunities were given to us, whatever tribulations were given to us, because we saw them as like opportunities to like get better. Um, and I think that moment when we got to just like share that elation with Phil dancing around on the mat, that was pretty epic.
So you saw the non-elim coming, sort of, or predicted it.
We were thinking, we were like, it could be
Interesting.
non-elim because we knew that there were 12 legs. And then I think at the time, in terms of the number of teams left, we knew that there was like a non-elim coming. We just didn't know when it was.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, like we did the math and like that's kind of how it came out to be. Something we were also thinking about like during the leg was like, oh, there hasn't been a surprise yet. So like hopefully the surprise is non-elimination leg. Um, but in terms of like getting to the mat, like we were a little bit nervous. Like we weren't like, oh my God, we've skated by. We were still like, we're in last and like this is not good. Um, like we were definitely bracing ourselves for the worst case scenario. We were just, I think we were hopefully optimistic as well.
Kevin, I think you had a non-elim related question that we discussed on the show after that episode.
Yeah, I do. And so in the past, we've seen anywhere from with a non-elim, anywhere from in the early seasons of taking all your possessions, starting the next leg with no money, or as far as a speed bump or anything like that. Did you guys incur any sort of penalty uh, as a result of the non-elim?
No, we did not. I think we were very lucky in that regard. We were ready for it if it came our way, but luckily we did not have any.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, that's kind of what I saw from the show, but I didn't know if how that played out or anything, if there was a time penalty or anything like that. But yeah, that's interesting. Um, one more thing back from that first episode was this introduction with a fork in the road. How did you guys decide which direction you wanted to take that?
I think for the fork in the road, nobody really knew how to approach it. Because like we had never seen it before, and all we knew about it was what Phil told us. And we chose sing, not dance, because in the cases where you don't know what you're gonna do, you got to just trust yourself. And I think we trusted our abilities. Like we knew how to like we know. I won't say we speak Vietnamese fluently because we don't, but we knew like what Vietnamese sounded like, and we were like, okay, you know what? Like we can do this. Like this is like we knew that we weren't going to be great dancers, and so we chose something that we had like prior experience about, and we trusted our gut, and I think it worked out for us. I mean,
Hmm.
we were able to survive the fork in the road, which honestly, that first leg I would say was very, very difficult, just because you have no idea what to expect, and then on top of that, you have a new challenge that you've never even heard of. So yeah, just trusting our guns and saying like this is how we're gonna play it. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And kudos to
Um,
you guys for being able to complete that sing challenge because that looked
yeah,
insane.
It was hard. It was hard. I think the main thing though is like if we had done that challenge probably later on, it probably wouldn't have been as bad. But like as a first challenge, I think we were taken aback by like how difficult these challenges were going to be.
Yeah, I think it was definitely what we needed. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
terrible tasting medicine, but it's what the patient needed.
and it worked out for you. You're sitting here with second place.
it's true. We did get 12th that leg though, so or something like
That's
that.
true.
That's
Um,
my only thing with the. I like the fork in the road, but I feel like maybe make the challenges more close in difficulty because the dance people all came through ahead of the sing people, it seemed like.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it kind of put us at a disadvantage for the next leg, but I feel like the thing that I learned about the race is like you can try to scheme and like kind of like be clever about like getting all of these like pieces of information when you're in the airport or like trying to get ahead, like trying to prepare to get ahead, but it never really ever amounts to anything. Like I feel like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't ever really amount to much. And like the thing that like matters the most in the race is like what I've said is like adaptability and being able to handle things like on the fly.
100%.
After that first leg, the next one you guys went to Osaka, Japan, and you had the return of the intersection with a drumming competition. And I was just curious what it was like to work with another team, specifically Erica, in this way of relying on her as part of your ability to move forward.
Yeah, yeah, that was like the first time that we really got to interact with teams, I'd say. Just because like that first like you're so in your head about what you're doing and like you have no idea what's going on. You're just trying to figure it out. So like there isn't that much time to really talk with teams and get to know them. And so like doing it with Erica, it was kind of just like, oh, we both showed up here at the same time. Why don't we just do this challenge together? Um, and yeah, I'd say it was a really hard challenge. First of all, taiko drumming is really difficult. Second of all, I have no idea how Erica learns things. I have no idea how like what her approach to anything is. I just like this is a stranger to me. Um, and so like really getting to meet her, talk to her, and then like learn about like who she is and what she like what how she like takes in information. That was all had to be done within like an hour and a half, or at least before any other teams. And so I think that was a really difficult challenge. But I love Erica. Erica's the best. It's really, really fun to work on that challenge with her. It was a really difficult challenge for both of us, but I think we were able to, yeah, we were able to move forward and we were able to make it through to the next leg. So we're super happy about that. And honestly, I wouldn't change anything.
I also
Awesome.
feel like music is something that is either innate or doesn't. Like you either grew up learning how to learn music or you didn't. And if you didn't, then it's just such a hard thing to learn because it's such a feeling type skill. And so like I think making that an intersection like challenge is like you really don't know what you're going to get. And the other scary thing is like there's so many other factors outside of your control. And I think like just thinking about it in terms of like a viewer's perspective, it gives a lot of opportunities to like shake up the race and like see who would make it out of that challenge quickly or not quickly. So I think that challenge, honest, like that leg and that challenge, and we learned a lot. We learned a lot.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, I mean, from an entertainment place, that challenge was great, but from a competitor place, I think that would stress me out so much.
Hmm.
It definitely did. I mean like it stressed everyone out. Like you have someone like Mark who works with music and is like works with rhythm as a living as a dancer. Um, and like even like in if this is a solo roadblock, he's out of there in probably 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So like it was definitely an equalizer and it was a really tough challenge. It was just a tough challenge overall.
After that, you guys went to Kyoto. You guys have mentioned that a couple times, and we got to see Holden kind of flex your soccer skills there.
Yeah, that was a super fun challenge. Just felt like playing in the backyard as a kid. Um, and I think that like up to that point we were racing a really, really good leg. We knew we had to run close to a perfect leg if we wanted any chance because we were like an hour and a half behind the next
Mm.
closest team. And I think up to that point we were doing really, really well. I think the leg ended off pretty shaky, but overall I think that like to get to that point we had to be precise and we had to be sure. And so I think that like we said, like that was my favorite leg just because that was when we really were able to put everything together so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And to stay on that leg, uh,
I did
what?
write a Substack about that leg, and I want to plug it, and it's really good. That's all I'm saying. So for
I'll
those
have
of
to
you
check
listening,
it
check
out.
out my Substack about leg 3. It's good.
All right, everybody heard that. Go check out what Hans got going on their
For sure.
Substack.
Was this the leg that had the sumo wrapping one also?
No, I
Oh,
this is just about the soccer and the origami.
Yeah, yeah. So,
they all get jumbled in my head at this point.
That's fair.
with your origami, you guys at one point decided to once again know that you didn't have a choice in Osaka to work with Erica, but this time you chose to work with Nick and Mike. And so I was just curious, how do you negotiate in your own, like together as a team, when it's right to work together with somebody versus to just trust yourself uh, and do it?
I think this is something that we struggled with during the race, and I think part of it is just like because we're a young team and because we've never had experiences of working together. So it was difficult for us. But I think like just in general, we're very collaborative people, and we're huge proponents of like we can go far together. Like you can go, I don't know, there's a saying that's like if you want to like get ahead, go solo, but if you want to like go far, go together. I don't know if that's a saying. I might be butchering it.
It is now.
Yeah. But I think that's something that we really, really channeled during the race. And granted, there's some teams that like just didn't have that mentality, but we knew for us, like considering our challengeability and our history of like our lack of working together, we knew that we would need extra help. And I think Nick and Mike in that moment, like we really trust, like we love those guys. And we like, I would say at the beginning, probably was like the first connection we made when we were like socializing with other teams. And I think it all just kind of played out really well for us. Like we didn't plan to have Nick and Mike there at the same time as us. But we kind of just shot our shot and asked if we could work together, and then it ended up working out really well.
Nice.
Mhm. And I gotta say, Han, you made a quote that I referenced in that episode, "When in Kyoto, make giant origami," and
I
that
don't
became
remember
our
saying that.
episode title for the week.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm honored.
So after Kyoto, you went on to Bali, and that was when we saw the driver's seat. And um, Jonathan and Anna gave you guys one of the 20 pounders, which was a greatly beneficial for you guys. But do you feel like they were was it like a good faith kind of move? Did people kind of underestimate you guys as a team, or why is it do you think that they put you in that middle tier?
Yeah, I think, well, we also had established pretty good relationships with Anna and Jonathan too. Like they were the other team that we really felt like we connected with. And I think that they're genuinely just authentic and good people. I know that, it may come across differently on TV, and we get that no one's perfect, but we kind of like went into the driver's seat thinking like we really hope Anna and Jonathan get to the board because like we have the strongest relationship with them, and we had faith that like if we were to get assigned some amount of weight, it would be on the lower end. So I think like in my mind, if Anna and Jonathan got there, we would have been fine. But if another team got there, it would have been more precarious because we just didn't know or like didn't have like an established relationship with those people. But I don't think it was because like I don't think that Jonathan and Anna did that move because they underestimated us, if that makes sense. I think it was more of like a relationship confirming move.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, that's very insightful. And then in the next leg in Indonesia, we see everybody gathers together for a live U-turn vote. And you guys put your vote on Scott and Lori. Can you kind of just walk through what made that decision for you?
Yeah, first of all, Scott and Lori are a really good team. Um, like they were finishing at the top of the pack because they're a really good team.
Yeah.
And we kind of knew that Jonathan and Nana, because they were in the driver's seat, were going to get a little bit of heat, honestly, a lot of heat for it. And we had no reason to pile onto that heat, especially because we benefited, like you guys just said, right, of getting 20 pounds. Um, and so the question was, well, we have to just make sure that we're not the second team to get U-turned. Um, and we're not going to U-turn Jonathan and Nana. So who is the next best team up? And honestly, to us, it was Scott and Lori. Jack and Carson were a really, really good team too. Um, but we just felt more confident in U-turning Scott and Lori. And so yeah, the decision was we just don't want it to be us. We don't want the second part of the vote to be us. Who can we make it? And we wanted to put the heat on another really good team.
That makes
Yeah,
total sense.
absolutely. And while you guys were in Indonesia, we already talked about how Holden got to flex his soccer muscles. Han gets to flex her surfing. So, how was it? How cool was it to get to do stuff like that you already love and are so familiar with?
No, no, yeah. I that was like a very surreal moment and I definitely chose play over work in that moment, but I think like that kind of just attests to like our philosophy for this race and like how we ran it, just like being so present with each moment and enjoying every moment for what it is. I literally didn't even know if I was going to be able to catch a wave. Like I didn't really know what the challenge was until I was out there. And it was just like a beautiful coincidence of the wave is coming. Han is in this moment. Han just found the sticker and like she was able to catch it back into shore, which was super, super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Real quick, Kev, before you go to the next leg.
Yeah,
Speaking of
go for it.
double U-turn, how cool was that monkey sanctuary? That place looked awesome.
That place was absolutely beautiful. No idea what to expect. Um, but yeah, walking through there and having no idea that Phil was at the end of it. If there was just a clue box there, it would have been honestly a top five place that we visited on the race.
Yeah, I actually since I was solo traveling, I actually had been to the monkey forest prior. But like going back to the monkey forest for a live U-turn was something else.
Cool.
That's awesome. And then you go to Dubai, and we have some confusion here whether the tallest tower in the world is the Burj Khalifa or the Wiz Khalifa.
Shout out
Um,
Mark and Brett. They're so
yeah,
funny.
So good.
it was so funny. Um, but my question here is for Holden. You called Jonathan the Terminator in this challenge, and I was just wondering where where that came from.
Yeah, so that came originally from the Osaka leg, or the Osaka leg, where he did the drumming challenge, and I was working on it with Erica, so I didn't get to see him. But the way everyone, like all of the teams, were describing how he did that challenge, everyone was like, "Oh my God, like this guy is so good at it!" Like he just like turned on a switch, and he like just went to another level on the challenge.
Sure.
Um, and so like. I had just heard a lot of like almost like mythical type descriptions of how good he was at challenges. That like when I got to see him do the e-foiling, I was just very excited to see what everybody was talking about. So that's why he was like, I don't know if someone else described him as the Terminator. Um,
I think it was
but
you.
what?
I think you came up with it.
But it definitely that was the way that people were describing it. It was like he enters a new level and then he just like becomes dialed, and I think that's what you see later in the show too, is like that puzzle to get into the finale, and the puzzle at the finale is like he was, yeah, he just went to another level and was able to like make up so much time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's some great insight. I appreciate that. Um, After Dubai, you spend a couple legs in in Sofia, Bulgaria. Um, and in that first part of the leg, you guys received that U-turn. And what's going through your mind as you get up there and see your face on the U-turn?
We were so frustrated. Not frustrated, but we were like annoyed. I was annoyed. And we know like we love Nick and Mike and like we've talked about this quite a bit, but and nothing against them. We understand why they U-turned us. But when we were running to the U-turn board and they were like, we U-turned you guys, like it was kind of surreal. And then seeing our actual faces on the board, we were like, time to go do some hay. So I think, I don't know, we did take it in stride though, because the only thing that you have to do is just complete the other side of the detour. So that's kind of what we did. And Holden was great during that part. He was like, Han, like we're still in Bulgaria no matter what happens. And
That's a
we
great
just didn't
outlook.
give up. We just didn't give up.
Yeah. Um, and there was actually you said that in the episode. I understand, but I am annoyed, and I think that is such a good attitude to have because we
Yeah.
see people that like are just mad.
Yeah.
But like for you to have the awareness to say, I don't like that it happened, but I understand why it did. I think that was great.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think like we just don't take anything personally, honestly. Like we know at the end of the day it's a game and it's a game for $1 million, so we get it.
And then in that second Bulgarian leg, we see you're at the cipher, and you guys are working with Melinda and Erica, and then you switch up and go work with Jack and Carson, and then after you get it, you kind of help Melinda and Erica, and then you head off. So what what is going through your mind as you're trying to figure out who to work with and how much information to give and what's best for your race?
Yeah, so our goal always in each leg is to like how do we make sure that we make it to the next leg? Um, that's always our goal. And whether that's working with people or not working with people, like that is up to us to decide. And like that cipher puzzle, like we had decided we needed to work with people. Um, and so like we got into an agreement with Erica and Melinda. No regrets about that. And like we just couldn't figure it out together. And then Jack and Carson figure it out. And so I think the main thing was that we just wanted to get out of there. And we did not make any promises to Eric and Melinda about working with other people as well, on top of working with them. So we were ultimately like tasked with the decision of like, hey, I want to get out of here. Let's make sure that we can. So once we were able to get out of there, like it was still our responsibility to uphold our own word, um, and give Erica and Melinda at least what we knew. Um, I do think that like we gave them a pretty big hint, but I think Han was right about like not giving them the whole thing because in the end we're still in the race and we still want to make sure that we're keeping we were still protecting ourselves, but we still want to be good on our word. And I think that like the hint and everything that we gave them was just trying to do right by both people. Like in the case of helping Eric and Melinda, it was just about doing the right thing, and that was we made a promise to them and we intended to keep it.
Nice.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And can somebody explain to me what the heck, when the heck this race brain line of thinking came into be? Because it seemed like all of a sudden everybody's talking about race brain right in the middle of this race. And I had never heard that phrase before.
Yeah, that term, I can't remember who said that term, um, but it's just like it's totally true, and it just embodies everything. Like I can't remember who came up with it.
I think it might have been like a camera guy or like a sound guy. I don't know who.
Yeah, yeah, maybe, but like yeah, and I think like what they like, but I'm not. Yeah, we're not 100% sure. And like it's when all logic flies out the window, and all you want to do is just move forward, even if moving forward isn't actually the smartest thing to do. And like it's just it's a phenomenon that only happens on the race, and like yeah, I don't know. There's no other way to describe it because it's not your actual brain thinking. It's just the race speaking for you.
Sure.
It's like in Lord of the Rings when like Frodo can hear the ring, except for the ring is the race, and you're just like, oh my God, we should not stop and like we shouldn't stop and ask for directions ourselves. We should just follow another team.
Yeah, thank you for that because it just seemed to be all over the place, and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening right now. But it was definitely entertaining. Um, After Bulgaria, you guys went to Naples, and I got to know, how do you guys feel about cheese now?
This is a Holden response. My stomach was definitely not happy after this race. Um, I actually really do love cheese, and I have like a whole block of cheese in my fridge right now. Like I like to eat cheese on the daily, regardless of how it makes my stomach feel. But I think it reaches a point where you're eating the same cheeses for like an hour straight under extreme pressure where you reach your limit, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and then in terms of tying the mozzarella, I think that was when we really focused on like realized that like, hey, we're trying to be perfect in this race, and like
Oh yeah.
that is not that is not gonna help us anymore. Like I think we just need to focus on getting things done. Um, and I think that really like I think you see two different teams. You see like Han and Holden before the non-elimination leg, where you see like flashes of brilliance. But I do think after that non-elimination leg, we become a very consistent team about like yeah, we still do make mistakes, but I think we shore up a lot of like I think that's when we were like, okay, like how are we gonna not take this non-elimination leg for granted? And we're gonna not take it for granted by not being trying to be perfect, by being good enough.
so also, while we're on the Italy leg, how was eating slash making pizza in Italy? That must have been a really cool experience.
The eating part was really fun.
The making part was a pain in the ass.
So, a lot of times what we've done throughout the show is like with the challenge, we'll discuss which one of us would want to do each task. And I texted him while I was watching and said, "You're making the pizza." And he asked me why. And I said, "Because the person that doesn't make it gets to eat it."
I wish, and I didn't even get to try my own pizza,
Oh, that's so
honestly.
sad.
So, yeah. But there was like a clip of Phil eating all of the pizzas that the teams brought with the band. So at least it went into like good hands, you know?
That's hilarious.
Wow.
And then we got pizza puns from Phil somewhere in that episode.
Yeah, with Josiah,
Oh, that
the
was incredible.
two kings of dad jokes right there.
Um, yeah, so that kind of covers both uh, Naples and France cheese. And so on to Portugal. Uh, my biggest thing was having when you did the archery with the armor on, how much of a factor did that armor, I assume it being heavy, play into being able to aim and as easily shoot the arrow?
Oh yeah, that armor was super heavy. It was it was tough because I did it in 3 attempts. Um, and like my first attempt was quite close, but my second attempt was totally missed the mark because like the armor just got too heavy. So I had to take like a small break, like not using the bow and just like take a second. And that's where I mentioned the idea of like of like turning the bow and shooting it like horizontally rather than vertically. And it was just like really nice that Andre, the person teaching us how to shoot the bow, was like, yeah, you can do that. And he like confirmed that like I was able to do that. So once I did that, like I was able to work out a different muscle, rather than use the one that was tired from all that armor because the armor was super heavy and like something. I think what was worse than it being heavy was the fact that it was hot.
Oh,
There
Mm.
was no way for you to like get any air in there. So like you were trapped under that heat. So like not only were you like feeling the weight, you were also really hot. And I think that's what made the challenge a lot more difficult.
but hey, at least you got
Yeah.
knighted at the end of it.
Exactly. Yeah, I can protect my family and my friends now.
There's also a great joke we made that didn't get shown where the cameraman was like, "So Han, are you gonna call your brother Sir Holden from here on out?" And I was like, literally over my dead body.
That's great.
But they didn't show it. It's such a good joke.
Oh man, I wish they would have. That definitely would have made our. We do funny quotes from the episode to start every episode or all of our episodes, and that definitely would have made the cut.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And then we finished the leg in Miami. And Han, this is a question for you. Where was the disconnect between sore and your surfing?
Yeah, for sure. I think like what earlier what Holden was saying of just like not having won a leg yet. And I think it's just a whole different game when you're trying to either survive versus go for first place. And we just didn't have that experience yet. And I think like you can read my finale Substack about this. Like I give a lot of insight there of just like I think we really overthought this leg in terms of like what it would have meant if we won. Because like this whole time we were running the race, like we weren't just doing it for ourselves, like we were doing it for our families and like our parents and like our sister, as well as just like Asians that have never felt like they were good enough and like people that have never felt like they fit into like one like bucket and just like never feel like you belong. So like that entire weight of like what we were carrying really got to us that leg, especially me. So I think it was like the adaptability aspect that was like accounted to so much of our success during our like time during the race. Like I did end up figuring it out after I like took a breath and breathed, but I think it was just like the initial like expectation of it all, like me expecting to get it very quickly, like and not expecting it to be as hard as it was, I think really got to me. And I think that just like highlights that I'm human and everyone is human and no one's perfect. And like that definitely haunted me for like months after the race like finished, but I've come to terms with it because like the reality is I'm not perfect. So, you know, second place still isn't too shabby. I'm not gonna complain
Yep.
about second place.
Second place
Of
is
course we
awesome.
wanted that million, but like second place is fantastic. Like, and just considering the leg we ran and the journey as a whole, like I'm just so grateful that I got to share it with my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hey, in second place sounds like a good spot for somebody to get a return call. Just saying.
Yeah, maybe, who knows?
We have unfinished business.
Yeah,
with
There
we
we
do.
go.
We do.
with the scramble, they showed a scene in the episode on the way to the scramble of you guys saying how much you wanted it to be water challenges. How excited were you when you got there and saw what it was?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing, like I said before, we were excited that it was water challenges, but it didn't outweigh like the pressure that we put on ourselves
Yeah,
for it. So,
that makes sense.
like, I think just like taking that into consideration, like we were grateful it was water, but we weren't in the right headspace and it just wasn't our day.
That's fair.
And I've noticed with this idea of the scramble, it
Hmm.
kind of backfired on the race this time when everybody took the same route. Is there something that you think would have helped to make the scramble feel like more of a scramble?
I think that the reason why everyone took the same route was just because the strategy was closest to furthest. Um,
Oh, that makes sense.
and everybody ended up taking that. So I don't know. I mean, like the producers are so good at their jobs. I don't really want to criticize them. But if I were to like make that scramble, I think maybe the clue box where we open it is in a more centralized place or something. Um,
That
That's kind of what I've spoken in terms of it is like as close to equal distance between from where you get the clue to each of the three locations would maybe make it a little more scrambly. But yeah. Um, in this, like we also saw a car accident. What actually happened there?
Yeah, this was chaos. I think we just reached our limits. I think me in particular, like I was still frustrated from the hoverboard. the race is super stressful. We're trying to hunt Jack and Carson down. We like bicker, and I lose it. And I didn't check my blind spot, and I ended up hitting this guy, this poor, sweet, old Latino man. And he didn't speak any English, which sucked. And that also kind of like went into my mindset of like, man, this day is just never ending.
But hey,
Um,
at least Holden paid attention in Spanish class.
yeah, hell yeah. This guy came in clutch for real. So grateful that uh he knew how to speak Spanish. I think like it was probably like 30 to 40 minutes delay. It kind of shows us 30 seconds because we have a whole arc of like hitting him, realizing he doesn't speak Spanish, and then figuring out what to do, and then like trying to like talk to Holden, being like, yo, you can speak Spanish, can you talk to him? And then Holden trying to figure out what to say. So it was like a whole arc that took forever because this guy also wanted us to call the police because he didn't trust us. So like we were also like working up against that, but second place with a car crash is really not bad.
No,
It's
not at
not
all.
bad.
Absolutely.
Not with that competition either.
Yeah, true.
And the last thing from that leg I wanted to mention was Holden's ending quote about being better than yourself each and every day, and I
So
think that's
cool.
super both inspiring and just a really great mindset to look at things. So kudos to you, Holden, for looking at things that way.
Thanks so much, Kevin. I really appreciate it. I think that was just what we learned doing the race together.
Yeah. Um, is now since you guys we kind of walked through your race or whatever. Is there any part of your race that we didn't really get to see in the edit, or that besides the fact that it was a 30-minute delay
Mhm.
to talk or to deal with the guy in Miami?
Yeah, I think what Holden said at the end of just like trying to be the best version of yourself in each present moment and just learning from your previous mistakes. Like, I think we're a team that really strategized a lot in terms of improvement. That improvement did not come overnight. It was definitely something that was like heavily worked on, and like had its own difficult journey within it of itself. And you kind of just see the byproduct of it. And like you kind of see like the arc of like they don't know what they're doing. Oh, they kind of know what they're doing. Wow, they could be a really good team. Oh, they're a freaking mess. Oh, they could be a really good team. And then like at the end, kind of seeing it all come together. Um, but I think that like it really just does take work. And I think that like I had a great partner to do it with. And I think we're just really grateful to have had the experience that we had. I will say, like, we're not as bad at navigation as the race makes us seem. Like, I think they showed our worst moments of navigation. But I don't know. I think all in all, it was a great journey and wouldn't have traded it for the world.
How was getting to know and talk to Phil? He seems so cool to us on TV.
Phil is so cool. He's the
So
best.
cool.
He's really good at his job, and he's so nice. He's how I would imagine it. Like he's like the perfect embodiment of a celebrity.
Nice.
It's awesome. You guys, your whole race, you've talked about from the beginning that um, you guys weren't as close when you were growing up or whatever. How has the race helped your relationship?
Yeah. Um, I think like we just have never had to work together, and the race really forced us to be in a position to work together. So I think we were really forced to put our heads together, and I think that kind of like made all the difference in terms of the progression of our relationship. I think prior to the race, the trust between each other to work together just was not there. And I think by the end, we got to a point where like the tangible evidence is there of like we can work together, we can trust each other, and like we can accomplish a lot when we put our heads together. Um, and yeah, I mean, I'm just really grateful that I got to share it with my brother.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of course you've already talked about uh, the lesson or what you learned from the race with in terms of being better than you were the day before. Is there any other lessons that you want to share with us that you learned from your time on the race?
Good question.
Holden, you want to take this one?
Is there anything that we've learned in our time together from the race?
No, like anything just like else that yeah, that we learned aside
Yeah.
from being better, a better version of yourself.
I think I learned a lot about my sister, and yeah, she was a great partner and how um, yeah, I don't think the show shows how resilient she was. I think that yeah, it shows her stressing out a lot, but like she was able to overcome that stress,
Yeah.
which to get second place, which is really hard, especially considering that a lot of really good teams, were not able to overcome that stress and do better than us. Only one team was able to do it. Um, so yeah, I think that's the main thing I learned.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Thanks, Holden. Love you.
Yeah, no problem, dude.
And
This
I
is
gotta
us
say,
on the daily.
and I gotta say, before the season each year, my mom and I each pick three teams that we think that we're gonna like root for, stuff like that, before we've seen any episodes. And my mom took Han and Holden all the way to the end.
Oh, that's so
So
sweet.
Awesome.
yeah.
Oh, that's so
Bruce, do
sweet.
you have anything else you wanted to go over?
We covered everything I had written down.
Awesome. Well, I want to give you guys Han and Holden an option. Where can anybody that's listening to this find you or keep up with you or whatever you got going on in your personal lives?
I'll go first because mine is less important. You can just follow me on Instagram. Um, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you there. Yeah, thank you guys so much for this podcast, by the way. You
And
guys
then
have
my socials too, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. Um, yeah. Thanks so much for interviewing us. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for interacting with our socials. It's been so much fun getting to know you guys over the course of the season and talk to you today.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been an absolute blast.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed it, and second place is definitely nothing to sneeze at. You guys had a great race, and we absolutely have enjoyed following along with you guys, and can't wait to see what you continue to do in the future. Um, hopefully that is a unfinished business, but either way, we're excited to see whatever you guys do going forward.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks,
No
Kevin. Thanks,
problem.
Bruce.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.